This came out about 3 hours ago. Blake Lively might drop emotional distress claim, says Team Baldoni in letter to judge.
Blake Lively has withdrawn her claims against him.
This just happened 1 hour ago, and it's sending shockwaves through Hollywood. Blake Lively's lawsuit is falling apart. The emotional foundation of her case? Gone. Her Hollywood inner circle? Gone. Even Taylor Swift just cut her off. What was supposed to be a courtroom crusade has turned into a PR disaster. And now, the same legal system she weaponized is closing in on her. Let's break down exactly how Blake went from Hollywood heroine to courtroom collapse in record time.
Miss Lively's counsel recently advised us in writing that Miss Lively is withdrawing her IED claims.
Blake Lively filed a lawsuit that instantly made headlines. A bold, high-stakes move against actor and producer Justin Baldoni and his company, Wayfarer Studios. The claims were serious: workplace harassment, career retaliation, and above all, emotional trauma that she said shattered her personal and professional life. This wasn't just a legal filing, it was a shot across Hollywood's bow. Her legal team painted a vivid picture. They described a respected actress pushed to the edge, emotionally drained, psychologically wounded, and professionally sabotaged by a man and a studio with influence, connections, and power. The filing included mentions of therapy sessions, emotional breakdowns, anxiety, depression, even how the alleged abuse affected her family life, particularly her marriage to actor Ryan Reynolds and their 4 children. Media outlets immediately jumped on the story. Blake Lively stands up to industry bullying, read one headline. Hollywood's number Me Too reckoning isn't over, read another. The public rallied around her, at least at first. But while the headlines focused on Blake's narrative of survival and strength, Justin Baldoni's legal team was quietly laying the groundwork for a completely different story. And their strategy wasn't emotional. It was clinical, calculated, and devastating. Behind the scenes, Baldoni's attorneys weren't reacting to press coverage or celebrity statements. They were combing through the lawsuit, identifying every weak point, and waiting for the moment to strike. They weren't interested in optics. They wanted evidence. Hard proof that Blake's claims weren't just dramatic accusations, but were grounded in verifiable legal fact. The moment they saw Blake's team anchoring the case around emotional trauma, they knew exactly what to do: go after the foundation. If her emotional distress claims couldn't stand up to legal scrutiny, the entire case could collapse like a house of cards. And so began a silent war. One fought not in public, but in sealed motions, discovery requests, and surgical legal maneuvers. While the world was applauding Blake for speaking out, Baldoni's team was preparing to do what no headline could protect her from: make her prove it.
Blake Lively has withdrawn her claims against him for intentional infliction of emotional distress and negligent infliction of emotional distress.
Baldoni's legal team asked for what any defense would: proof. They demanded access to Blake's therapy records, medical documentation of the pain she claimed. Her side refused. And then, boom. She dropped both emotional distress claims without prejudice, meaning she could technically bring them back, but everyone knew what that really meant. She folded before the fight even began.
Team Baldoni Wayfarer is asking the judge to compel, quote, Blake Lively to identify her medical and mental health care providers to produce her mental health records.
With Blake backing out of her most personal claims, Justin Baldoni's legal team didn't hesitate. They went in for the kill. Leading the charge was Kevin Fritz, a seasoned attorney with a reputation for turning defense into offense. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't play nice. In front of the judge and in official court filings, Fritz called it exactly what it was: an attempt to sue without evidence. According to Fritz, Blake was trying to paint herself as a traumatized victim while refusing to provide the documentation that would actually prove or disprove those claims. Her lawsuit was built on emotional destruction, but when pushed to verify it, she pulled away. And for Baldoni's team, that wasn't just suspicious, it was a red flag. This wasn't a smart legal pivot. This wasn't streamlining. This was blatant damage control. Fritz accused Lively's team of wanting the benefits of emotional testimony: sympathy, public support, media coverage, without any of the accountability. He pointed out that the emotional distress claims were central to the case. They weren't side issues. They were the very reason the lawsuit existed in the first place. And yet, when asked to produce the evidence, therapy notes, mental health evaluations, provider information, Lively's side immediately retreated. Instead of complying, they withdrew the claims without prejudice, a legal maneuver that says, we're not admitting we're wrong, but we're not going to fight this right now. But Fritz wasn't letting them off that easy. In a blistering motion to the court, he demanded that Blake either provide the documents or accept a dismissal with prejudice, meaning she wouldn't be able to refile those claims later. Why? Because you can't accuse someone of destroying your mental health and then hide all the medical records that could prove whether or not that's true. That's not how the legal system works, and Fritz made that clear. To the court, he framed Blake's maneuver as a bad faith tactic. To the media, it was a message. Baldoni's team wasn't playing the PR game. They were fighting to win. The withdrawal of the emotional claims didn't look like strength. It looked like panic. And in the courtroom, panic is blood in the water.
To deliver to the Wayfarer parties the necessary, duly executed HIPAA authorizations permitting them to obtain Miss Lively's medical and mental health care records from her providers.
But then Taylor Swift gets dragged in and came the unthinkable. Baldoni's team filed a subpoena naming Taylor Swift. The court documents allege that Blake pressured Swift into making a public statement and even threatened to leak private messages if she didn't. Taylor didn't tweet. She didn't deny. She simply went silent. And that silence, it said everything. What happened next was a total collapse of Lively's celebrity fortress. Taylor's inner circle, Cara Delevingne, Gigi Hadid, Sophie Turner, vanished. No more likes, no red carpets, no appearances. It wasn't just one friendship lost, it was a mass exodus. Hollywood's most powerful squad left Blake in the dust.
Miss Lively has refused the Wayfarer party's reasonable request that the withdrawal of such claims be with prejudice. With prejudice means dismissed permanently.
And then, the leak. Documents arrived directly at Baldoni's legal office, not from the press, but from Scott Swift, Taylor's father. According to insiders, he handed over proof that Blake's team threatened emotional blackmail if Taylor didn't publicly back her. No press conference, no announcement, just cold legal steel from inside Taylor's own family.
Miss Lively wants to simultaneously A, refuse to disclose the information and documents needed to disprove that she suffered any emotional distress and or that the Wayfarer parties.
As if that wasn't bad enough, Baldoni's team just recruited a legal nuclear bomb, Ellen S. Garop, a courtroom veteran with decades of celebrity litigation under her belt and, wait for it, former counsel for Taylor Swift. She's not here for publicity. She's here to dismantle Blake's case, and she knows exactly where to hit.
Miss Lively cannot have it both ways. If Miss Lively wants to withdraw her frivolous IED claims, as we established, that means infliction of emotional distress.
Even Blake's own husband, Ryan Reynolds, isn't safe anymore. For months, he stood quietly by her side. No press conferences, no courtroom appearances, but his presence loomed large. Blake's strongest emotional and public ally, the Hollywood A-lister whose reputation added weight to her accusations. But now, he's a legal target. New filings reveal that Baldoni's legal team is preparing a countersuit against Reynolds, citing defamation, PR manipulation, and alleged involvement in a coordinated media campaign designed to discredit Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios. According to internal documents leaked to several outlets, Reynolds may have participated in, or at least endorsed, a strategy to amplify Blake's claims through social media pressure, celebrity endorsements, and behind-the-scenes smear tactics. The countersuit accuses Reynolds of using his public influence to intentionally damage the reputation of Mr. Baldoni through false and misleading commentary, all while avoiding formal inclusion in the lawsuit itself. If true, that makes him not just a supporter, but a co-conspirator. And it's not just legal theory. The filings include timelines, social media interactions, and communications from publicists that allegedly link back to Reynolds' own management team. For Baldoni's lawyers, it's the next phase in their strategy. Turn the spotlight onto the entire Lively Reynolds machine. They're not just challenging Blake's narrative. They're accusing her inner circle of orchestrating a smear campaign rooted in emotion, not truth. Now, Blake isn't just fighting to keep her own case alive. She's trying to shield her husband from becoming collateral damage in a war she started. What began as a personal lawsuit has now spiraled into a full-blown legal siege, and the walls are closing in on everyone.
In her complaint, Miss Lively claims that the Wayfarer party's alleged misconduct severely impacted her physical, psychological, and emotional well-being.
Chapter 9. Headlines turn ugly. The media has turned. hard. BuzzFeed now calls it a legal implosion. Variety and People stopped calling her brave and started using words like collapse, silence, and abandonment. Blake hasn't been seen in court since March. And her lawyers? They're spinning harder than ever. But spin doesn't stop subpoenas.
She has suffered and continues to suffer substantial damages, including but not limited to severe emotional distress and pain, humiliation, embarrassment, belittlement, frustration, and mental anguish.
Will her case even survive? With Blake Lively's emotional distress claims officially dropped, her legal team scrambling, and her once loyal celebrity circle nowhere to be found, the question everyone in Hollywood and the courtroom is now asking is chillingly simple. Will this case even make it to trial? It's only June, and yet insiders close to the proceedings are already sounding the alarm. According to legal analysts, the lawsuit, once described as a powerful reckoning, now looks like it's on life support. The emotional core of the case? Gone. The press momentum? Dead. The Hollywood backup? Disappeared. What's left is a hollowed-out shell of a complaint, stripped of the very claims that gave it depth and public impact. All that remains are accusations of harassment and retaliation, claims that, without emotional trauma to back them up, feel legally flat and publicly stale. Legal observers point to the pattern. Key claims quietly withdrawn. Refusal to produce supporting documentation. A growing list of subpoenas backfiring. High-profile friends abandoning ship. And now with Justin Baldoni's team gaining strength, armed with Ellen Escarop, filing aggressive motions, and targeting even Ryan Reynolds, it's starting to look less like a trial in waiting and more like a slow-motion collapse. Even Judge Louis J. Lyman, overseeing the case in the Southern District of New York, is reportedly growing impatient. Sources say the court is beginning to view Blake's legal tactics, withdrawals, vague language, procedural delays, as stalling, not strategy. And if the emotional component of the case is gone and the celebrity goodwill has dried up, what's left to carry this lawsuit to March 2026? At this point, even Blake's defenders admit the outlook is grim. Her legal team insists they're regrouping. But behind the scenes, even their tone has shifted from confidence to caution. One source put it bluntly, "It's like watching a ship take on water. You can patch the holes, but eventually it sinks." Baldoni's team isn't playing for headlines, they're playing for total legal dominance. And with every motion, every leak, every move, they're tightening the noose. This isn't just a court case anymore, this is a collapse in real time. Subscribe if you want real-time updates as this chaos continues. Because one thing's clear, Blake Lively's legal nightmare is just getting started.